I'm not going to summarize the exact things that I was censored for. They were the specific things they censored any of us for. You can imagine is fairly arbitrary. Once we were on their chopping block, they were going to look for the first excuse to get rid of us. But I wanted to mention it's almost I'm involved in one of the two First Amendment lawsuits against the government, Changizi versus Department of Health and Human Services, with NCLA and Janine Eunice on point, and Michael Sanger and Daniel Kotzen and me are suing, and you know we hope to win, and this would be great. But I almost think this whole fiasco in terms of free expression being hurt over the last 3 years is made less clear and less clarifying because the government is involved in violating the First Amendment. Because really, what's at stake here was much deeper than the First Amendment. In fact, we had already seen free expression really under on assault. Everybody on Team Lockdown was fully on board. NPR, every time I would listen to it, was fully on board, screaming for YouTube and Facebook and Twitter to engage in more private enterprise backed censorship. Right. The culture had changed such that those on the righteous lockdown side were full on supporting censorship of their opponents. This is what made it possible for the federal government to do what they did. And when they announced it, when Jen Psaki announced it in April, she was unapologetic about it because she, in their own groupthink, in their own echo chamber, had justified to themselves that it was entirely okay to do so, and they truly believed it. So ironic, when I started a free expression research institute called FreeX.group back in February, March of 2021, and it still hadn't occurred to me even then that the federal government was explicitly violating the First Amendment. There was so much danger just from the mass hysteria and the kind of righteous in-group and hatred of the out-group and justification for censoring all of their opponents. And suddenly these people that have never cared about a private company ever suddenly had all of the respect in the world for the biggest big tech social media companies and their private decisions. So from my point of view, the real elephant here isn't the federal government. The real elephant here that Neil talked about isn't 25 different kinds of international organizations. The real elephant is something that always appears when there are these sorts of national emergencies and pandemics, the most dangerous of these kinds, and it just the same psychosocial human dynamics that creates these narratives, which are really hard to, which is one of the things we study mathematically. What are these narratives? Why are they so hard to backtrack? Once they're wrong, why can't you go back and change them? There's mathematical reasons for why this is the case. And once they get going and start treating the outgroup as unclean enemies, it's really hard to turn these around. And they're society level forces, not just top down. And this is why they'll always be with us forever and always. And that's the true elephant that my kind of research is aimed at to understand.